There's absolutely nothing wrong with a little cosmetic enhancement here and there, but what happens when someone takes it way too far? We're talking about people who've had 6 ribs surgically removed, others who've completely cut off their noses, and some who've even tattooed their eyeballs completely black. From transforming into comic book villains to becoming real-life dolls, these 13 individuals pushed plastic surgery and body modification to shocking extremes. Some spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, others risked their lives, and a few paid the ultimate price. Let's dive into these jaw-dropping transformations that'll make you question where the line should really be drawn. I got my tongue split. I have tattooed my eyeballs. That's cool, right? Ethan's obsession with body modification started incredibly young. At just 11 years old, he began stretching his ears with plugs, which seemed pretty normal at the time since it was trendy. But this good-looking kid wanted something more. He wanted to be different, to stand out in ways most people couldn't imagine. By the time Ethan turned 22, he had completely transformed himself into one of the most modified youths on the planet. We're talking over 200 tattoos covering every single inch of his body. But the tattoos were just the beginning. Ethan went through more than 40 extreme body modification procedures that most people wouldn't even consider. He had his tongue split down the middle like a reptile, his belly button completely removed, and perhaps most shocking of all, his eyeballs tattooed. Yes, you heard that right. He risked going completely blind just to achieve this look. But somehow the procedures went well with hundreds of thousands of Instagram followers captivated by his unique appearance. Ethan became internet famous. But here's the twist. After becoming a father, Ethan started having second thoughts. For the past year, he's been undergoing laser removal treatments, trying to reverse some of his more extreme facial modifications. He's admitted that he went too far, especially with his face, and wants to look more normal for his daughter's sake. But that wasn't the whole story. My name is Pixie Fox, and I am a real-life cartoon. I'm 25 years old. I see myself as an artist. While Ethan wanted to be unique, Pixie Fox had a completely different goal in mind. She wanted to transform herself into a living cartoon character, specifically Jessica Rabbit with the tiniest waist humanly possible. At first, she tried the traditional route by wearing corsets every single day. This got her waist down to about 18 in, which is already incredibly small. But for Pixie, that wasn't enough. She wanted more, and she was willing to go to extreme lengths to get it. So, what did she do? She became the first person in the world to have 6 of her ribs surgically removed. Let that sink in for a moment. 6 ribs gone. The surgery took over 5 hours, and just 2 days later she was back in her corset working toward that impossible 14 to 16 in waist. But the rib removal was just one item on a very long list. Pixie's had over 200 procedures total, including 4 nose jobs, for breast augmentations, a Brazilian butt lift, liposuction on her inner and outer thighs, cheek fillers, lip fillers, a mini brow lift, permanent makeup, and countless Botox treatments. She spent well over $200,000 transforming her body, and she's still not finished. Pixie continues to plan even more modifications because for her, the transformation never ends. But what happened next would shock everyone. It involves a lot of plaquing and lasers and bleach and makeup. And speaking of never-ending transformations, this next person spent over $900,000 on more than 100 surgeries. Originally known as the human Ken doll, Rodrigo Alves wanted nothing more than to look exactly like Barbie's plastic boyfriend. The obsession started in high school after years of brutal bullying. Rodrigo suffered from abnormal hormonal fluctuations at 16 that caused breast growth, and classmates constantly mocked the appearance, particularly that potato-like nose, as it was cruelly called. After parents took Rodrigo for breast removal surgery at 17, something clicked. Surgeries became the answer to everything. The transformation was intense. 10 nose surgeries, countless skin grafting procedures to achieve that shiny plastic-like appearance, arm implants to look more muscular, and even 4 ribs removed just like Pixie. But things went wrong multiple times. The 6th nose surgery caused a life-threatening infection that nearly ended everything. The nose stopped functioning entirely, forcing Rodrigo to breathe through the mouth permanently and losing the sense of smell completely. Then the arm surgery left Rodrigo temporarily paralyzed with doctors warning both arms might need amputation. Miraculously, that disaster was avoided. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. In 2020, Rodrigo came out as transgender and is now Jessica Alves. The human Ken doll transformed once again, this time into the human Barbie. Jessica underwent face feminization surgery, breast augmentation, and complete gender confirmation surgery. From male doll to female doll, Jessica's transformation journey continues to this day. From dolls to pop stars, some people's obsessions know no bounds. 33-year-old Toby Sheldon from Los Angeles likely has a serious condition. But the press has decided to poke fun at him because he has spent $100,000 on plastic surgery to look like Justin Bieber. Toby Sheldon became absolutely obsessed with one person, Justin Bieber. When Bieber exploded onto the music scene as a teen heartthrob, Toby couldn't stop thinking about those youthful features and that baby face everyone seemed to love. So, he made a decision that would change his life forever. Toby walked into a plastic surgeon's office with a photo of Justin Bieber and said 5 words, "Make me look like this." Over the next several years, he spent more than $100,000 getting his lips, nose, eyes, hair, and entire face repeatedly modified until he felt it looked just right. When the story went public, Toby faced brutal mockery online. People couldn't understand why a grown man would want to look like a teenage pop star. In 2014, he appeared on the reality show Botched, which features people whose plastic surgeries went terribly wrong. Toby tried launching a music career on the back of being a Bieber lookalike, hoping the resemblance would bring him fame and success. It was a massive flop. Nobody wanted to hear music from a Bieber impersonator. Then in 2015, something dark happened. Toby went missing and the news that followed was devastating. He was found in a motel room. The obsession that started with admiration ended in tragedy. While that story ended tragically, our next person achieved a more normal look, or so it seems. The living Barbie doll, the bionic woman, and the plastic princess are all names that have been used to describe Cindy Jackson. When you first look at Cindy Jackson, you'd probably think she looks like any regular person walking down the street. There's nothing obviously unusual about her appearance at first glance, but that's exactly the point, and it's also what makes her story so shocking. What looks natural actually took 14 full surgical procedures and over 45 non-surgical treatments to achieve. We're talking about a chin reduction, 2 eyelid surgeries, multiple liposuction sessions, 2 nose jobs, 3 complete facelifts, chemical peels, Botox injections, and even permanent makeup tattooed onto her face. The transformation started after her father passed away when Cindy was just 21. She inherited money and saw it as an opportunity to finally change the appearance she'd never been happy with. What began as minor tweaks slowly spiraled into a full-blown obsession. Cindy started scheduling procedures just months apart, constantly finding new things to fix or enhance. At one point, she even held the Guinness World Record for having the most cosmetic procedures done on a single person. When she eventually lost that record to someone else, she reportedly had a necklace made to cope with no longer being number 1. Today, Cindy runs her own plastic surgery consulting business where this youthful-looking woman advises celebrities and wealthy clients on how to get natural-looking results from their surgeries. The irony isn't lost on anyone. From the West to the East, our next transformation crosses cultural boundaries. A Japanese girl underwent 30 plastic surgeries and spent over $102,000 to look like a French doll. In Japan, eyelid surgery to achieve more Western-looking features has become incredibly popular over the years. It's practically a trend at this point, but Japanese model Vanilla Chama decided to take this cultural phenomenon way beyond the typical eyelid procedure. Starting her transformation journey in 2013 at just 19 years old, Vanilla set her sights on becoming a real-life French doll. First came the skin bleaching treatments to look more Caucasian. Then she dyed her hair bright ginger to complete the European look. Of course, she got the popular double eyelid surgery that so many seek out. But she didn't stop there. Vanilla also had extensive work done on her nose, lips, breasts, and chin. She spent well over $100,000 on more than 30 surgical procedures, and incredibly, she's still not satisfied. What makes Vanilla's story even more shocking is what she's planning next. She wants to undergo height-lengthening surgery, which is considered one of the most dangerous cosmetic procedures available. The surgery involves literally breaking the leg bones and slowly stretching them apart as they heal, adding a few inches of height over many painful months. Doctors warn about the serious risks, including permanent disability, but Vanilla remains determined to continue her transformation no matter the cost. Speaking of dangerous transformations, our next person took inspiration from the animal kingdom, but that also works with wild cats, tigers, other animals. I have a very strong instant relationship with them. Dennis Eyre truly believed that the tiger was his spirit animal, and he didn't just want to honor that belief spiritually. He wanted to physically become one. His transformation began at 23 with a single tiger stripe tattoo. That one tattoo opened the floodgates. Over the following years, Dennis covered his entire body in tiger stripes and went through numerous surgical procedures to make his face look feline. He had facial implants specifically designed to create whisker bumps, his nose surgically flattened to look more cat-like, brow implants to change his facial structure, and his ears modified to appear pointed. Dennis even wore synthetic whiskers that pass through actual holes pierced into his upper lip. But here's where it gets even more intense. Because extreme body modifications like these are technically illegal in the United States if they're deemed not normal by society standards, Dennis couldn't go to legitimate medical professionals. Instead, he had independent body modification artists perform these procedures without any anesthesia. Imagine the excruciating pain he endured, all because he believed this was his true form. Dennis toured the world, appearing in exhibitions and shows, fully embracing his identity as stalking cat. Sadly, he passed away in 2012. From aging backward to aging forward, our next case is truly bizarre. Here's something you definitely don't hear every day. While millions of people spend billions of dollars trying to look younger, one woman actually paid for surgery to look older. Came a grandmother at 47, which sounds pretty normal. But here's the problem. She didn't look like a grandmother at all. In fact, she looked so young that her own son was constantly mistaken for her boyfriend. Younger men in their 20s would hit on her, which sounds flattering until you realize it completely ruined 2 of her long-term relationships. Partners became insanely jealous, and Anne's friends resented her youthful appearance. Fed up with the attention and the problems it caused, Anne made an unusual decision. She went to a cosmetic surgeon and asked for the inverse of Botox. Instead of smoothing out wrinkles, she wanted them added. The doctor injected treatments that would actually create wrinkles and make her face appear older and more weathered. And felt the attention from younger men was shallow and boring, and she just wanted to look her age for once. It's one of the only documented cases of someone intentionally aging themselves through cosmetic procedures. From subtle aging to full reptilian transformation, I'm Eric Sprague, and you've got Lizard Man. Eric Sprague didn't just want a few tattoos or minor modifications. His goal was singular and all-consuming: transform himself into an actual lizard. The transformation required over 700 hours sitting in tattoo chairs, enduring the needle again and again as artists covered his entire body in green scales. Every inch of his skin from head to toe displays realistic-looking reptile scales that create a truly shocking appearance. But Eric knew tattoos alone wouldn't be enough to achieve his vision. He had his tongue surgically split down the middle to mimic a lizard's forked tongue. He got eyebrow implants to change the bone structure of his face, making it appear more reptilian. The transformation consumed years of his life and cost more money than most people spend on a house. Eric spent years touring the world in exhibitions and sideshow performances, embracing the constant stares and reactions wherever he went. When asked why he'd go this far, why he'd permanently alter his body in such an extreme way, Eric's answer was simple. He believes he's a mythological creature, and this physical transformation is simply how he expresses his true identity to the world, from fantasy creatures to childhood superheroes. Filipino designer Herbert Chavez has taken his love of Superman to new levels, undergoing extensive plastic surgery to look like his comic book hero. We all had wild dreams as kids, especially those of us who grew up watching superheroes save the day on television. Most of us outgrew those fantasies, but Herbert Chavez from the Philippines never did. His childhood dream was simple: be Superman. Not dress up as Superman for Halloween or conventions. Actually, be Superman. While most people thought it was just about putting on a costume and cape, Herbert took it to a completely different level. From 1995 to 2012, Herbert went under the knife 19 times, spending over $8,000 to physically transform himself into the Man of Steel. His procedures included Abby implants to create that superhero physique, lip liposuction to match Superman's facial features, extensive skin whitening treatments, and multiple nose jobs to get that perfect jawline and profile. Talk about dedication to a childhood dream. Once Herbert achieved the look he wanted, something interesting happened. He refused to let a single day pass without dressing up as Superman and walking through the streets in full costume. For Herbert, this isn't cosplay or a hobby. It's his entire identity. He genuinely admires everything Superman represents: goodness, strength, beauty, and helping others. From DC Comics to human dolls, our next 3 transformations push boundaries even further. This next story is a little questionable. In fact, everyone's kind of scratching their heads. The model who morphed herself into a real-life Barbie. Ukrainian model Valeria Lyanova became internet famous as the human Barbie, and her doll-like appearance sparked intense debate worldwide. Here's where things get controversial. Valeria claims that most of her features are completely natural, achieved through strict dieting, intense daily workouts at the gym, and genetics. She admits to having breast augmentation surgery, but insists that's the only procedure she's had done. That extraordinarily tiny waist natural, she says those impossibly large eyes, just makeup techniques and colored contact lenses. According to her, the perfectly doll-like facial structure, genetics, and contouring. Many plastic surgeons and experts have publicly disputed these claims, suggesting it's virtually impossible to achieve her look without extensive surgical intervention. The debate rages on, with Valeria firmly sticking to her story, while critics point to what they believe are obvious signs of multiple procedures. Regardless of how she achieved the look, Valeria lives as a real-life Barbie doll full-time, complete with the wardrobe, the poses, and the lifestyle. She's sparked global conversations about beauty standards, unrealistic expectations, and how far people will go to achieve a certain aesthetic. But the controversy surrounding her claims might be the most shocking part of her story. From beauty transformations to body horror, meet Maria Jose Cristina from Mexico, a lawyer, businesswoman, and artist who holds an incredible Guinness World Record. She has the most body modifications of any female on the planet, with 49 documented modifications verified in 2012. Her transformation is nothing short of extreme. Maria has transdermal implants protruding from her forehead, chest, and arms that create horn-like protrusions. She's had dental implants that created actual fangs in her mouth. Her tongue is split down the middle like a snake's. 96% of her body is covered in tattoos. She has eyeball tattoos, extensive scarification, and countless piercings in her eyebrows, nose, tongue, earlobes, belly button, and pretty much everywhere else you can imagine. But here's what makes Maria's story different from many others on this list. Despite her shocking appearance, she's a successful professional who uses her platform for good. Maria frequently speaks out about surviving and encourages others to embrace their true selves. For her, these modifications weren't about chasing beauty standards or looking like someone else. They represented personal empowerment and reclaiming her body after trauma. She attends international tattoo and body modification conventions where she's celebrated as an icon in the community. Recently, Maria has started warning others about the risks of extreme modifications, acknowledging that while she has no regrets, people should think carefully before making permanent changes. And finally, the most shocking transformation of all. If you thought the previous 12 transformations were extreme, this final one takes it to a level that's hard to even comprehend. Henry Rodriguez from Venezuela decided he wanted to look exactly like Red Skull, the terrifying villain from Marvel's Captain America comics. And when we say exactly, we mean it in the most literal and shocking way possible. Henry underwent 15 intensely painful procedures over several years. Spending around $30,000, he had both of his eyeballs completely tattooed black, giving him that haunting, soulless stare. He got multiple submal implants in his forehead to create the Raj skull-like appearance. His face was covered in red and black tattoos to complete the Red Skull look. But none of that compares to what came next. Henry had the end of his nose surgically amputated, removed, gone. He literally cut off part of his nose to create that skeletal appearance. This is considered one of the most extreme facial modifications ever documented. The procedure has left Henry unable to breathe normally through his nose, and he faces constant discrimination and shocked reactions everywhere he goes. Despite all of this, despite the pain, the permanent consequences, and the social stigma, Henry insists it was all worth it. He now refers to himself as Red Skull and has fully embraced this identity. His transformation represents the absolute extreme of what someone will do to embody their obsession. From Ukrainian Barbies to Mexican vampires, from human lizards to comic book villains, we've just witnessed 13 people who took plastic surgery and body modification to unimaginable extremes. Some spent hundreds of thousands of dollars. Others risked their lives. A few face tragic endings. The question everyone asks is, where's the line? At what point does self-expression become self-destruction? These transformations spark important conversations about body autonomy, mental health, and society's beauty standards. The stories we've shared today show that these decisions come with serious consequences, both physical and psychological. Which transformation shocked you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed diving into these jaw-dropping stories, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more content that pushes boundaries and makes you